Today we are going to be talking about special entity types or SPV, special purpose vehicles. I will cover why SPVs are seen as high-risk category, the purpose of a special purpose vehicle, practical examples, and the main AML measures applicable to them. So let's jump right into today's video. Hi and welcome to FinCrime Agent, my channel on financial crime prevention and regulatory compliance videos. As you may know, special entity types, also known as special purpose vehicles, are considered a high-risk category for money laundering and other illicit financial activities. These types of entities can include politically exposed persons, shell companies, and trusts, among others. As you know, PEPs are usually seen as high risk. This is because a politically exposed person, or a PEP, is an individual who holds a public position of power and influence, and they may pose a higher risk of money laundering due to their access to large amounts of funds and their ability to influence decision-making. A shell company, on the other hand, is a company that has no active business operations or significant assets, and which may be used as a vehicle for illicit activities such as money laundering or tax evasion. And a trust is a legal arrangement in which one party holds assets on behalf of another party, and which may be used to conceal the true ownership of assets and facilitate money laundering. I've already published a full video covering trust in more detail, so I will leave you a link to it in the video description of this video. So, one of the key risks associated with special entity types is the potential for money laundering due to their complex ownership structure and lack of transparency. That's why it's so important for financial institutions and other regulated entities to have robust policies and procedures in place to mitigate these risks. But why people create a special purpose vehicle? A special purpose vehicle, or SPV, is a legal entity that is created for a specific purpose, such as holding assets or financing a specific project. In the context of financial institutions or other regulated entities, an SPV may be used to facilitate transactions or to manage risks. For example, an SPV may be used to hold assets that are subject to a high level of risk, such as mortgage-backed securities or other complex financial instruments. By transferring these assets to the SPV, the financial institution can isolate them from the rest of its balance sheet and reduce the impact of any potential loss on its overall financial stability. An SPV may also be used to finance a specific project, such as the construction of a new building or the acquisition of a company. In this case, the SPV would typically be funded by a group of investors, and the assets and liabilities of the project would be segregated from the rest of the financial institution's balance sheet. Using an SPV in this way can provide a number of benefits, including reducing risks. By transferring assets or liability to an SPV, a financial institution can reduce the overall risk to its balance sheet. Improving transparency. An SPV can provide greater transparency around the assets and liability it holds, which can be specifically useful in complex financial transactions. Facilitating financing for these SPVs can be used to raise funding for a specific project, either from a single investor or from a group of investors. So what can financial institutions and other regulated entities do to ensure they are complying with anti-money laundering regulations when dealing with these special entity types? Before we dive into that, if you are finding interesting the content from this video, remember to subscribe and press the thumb up to help my videos spread more on YouTube, and so that you will not miss new content going live on my channel. So thank you for doing that. So one key aspect is the practice of KYC, or Know Your Customer. KYC is a process that helps financial institutions and other regulated entities to identify and verify the identity of their customers, as well as to assess any money laundering or terrorist financing risks associated with those customers. When it comes to special entity types, it's especially important to conduct thorough KYC checks to ensure that you are not exposing your organization to unnecessary risks. This may involve verifying the identity of the entity or individuals involved, conducting due diligence to understand the entity's business activities and ownership structure, and reviewing the entity's transaction history, which is usually governed under anti-money laundering transaction monitoring, with the aim to identify any red flags or unusual patterns. But KYC is just one aspect of managing the risks associated with special entity types. Financial institutions and other regulated entities should also implement robust internal controls and monitoring systems to detect and prevent money laundering, and provide training to staff on how to identify and report suspicious activities. It's also a good idea to regularly review and update your policies and procedures to ensure compliance with relevant regulations. In fact, a recap of best practices for managing the risks associated with special entity types include establishing clear policies and procedures. Those are required by financial institutions and other regulated entities, and they must include details on dealing with special entity types. Conducting risk assessments. Financial institutions and other regulated entities should conduct regular risk assessment to identify any potential vulnerabilities or areas of concern also related to special entity types. Enhancing due diligence. FIs and other regulated entities are asked to apply a deeper level of due diligence when dealing with special entity types. Providing training to staff. As part of the regular training on how to identify and report suspicious activity, more details will be beneficial to expand, particularly when it comes to special entity types. This may involve training on how to recognize common red flags such as unusual transaction pattern or discrepancies in the information provided by the entity. It's also important for financial institutions and other regulated entities to be aware of any changes to the regulatory landscape, as these can impact how they approach special entity type. For example, new regulations may be introduced that require additional due diligence or reporting, or existing regulations may be revised to reflect the changes in the risk profile of special entity types. In conclusion, special entity types present a range of risks to financial institutions and other regulated entities, including reputational risk, legal risk, and financial risk. By following best practices and implementing appropriate controls, you can help to mitigate these risks and ensure compliance with anti-money laundering regulations. As always, a copy of the slides presented today in this video are available to my Patreon, so if you wish to get your copy, go to my Patreon, which is patreon.com/fcagent, and you can support there my project. I'm also pleased to let you know that if you want to send a super thanks for the work that you do, you can now do so also directly from this YouTube video. So thank you for doing that, and lastly, thank you for watching. I hope you found this video on special entity types useful, and until next time, see you soon.